Hi everybody, welcome into the Wolfman Gardening channel. Today we're going to make some salsa. We're going to take our homegrown tomatoes that we've got and we're going to put them in and we're going to make a salsa. I'm going to go through this step by step on how we're going to do this. So let's get started and we're going to make some awesome salsa. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring 2 of these full-size saucepans to a boil. If you'll notice, we've got about halfway, or the water about halfway level. And then the only reason we're doing that because once we add our tomatoes in there, the level's going to go up. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our tomatoes in this boiling water, and what it's going to do is it's going to soften and split the skin because we don't want the skin in our salsa. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to clear out one side of our sink here, and we're going to put cold water in here. We may throw a few cubes of ice in there just to cool it down some more, because once you start putting these hot tomatoes in there, you may have to drain a little bit of the water and add some more cold water to it. So the purpose of this is to cool these tomatoes down to where you can actually work with them with your hands, because those tomatoes will be extremely hot coming out of that boiling water. Usually we'll use a Roma or say a Gladiator type tomato, ones that have a lot of beef in them and less juice. But since this year's crop of tomatoes were pretty thin due to all the rain causing us to lose a lot of them to root rot, we're going to be mixing our Mr. Stripey, our Black Crim, Cherokee Purples, Camions. I know we got the Martha Washingtons. So we're just going to add a whole mixture of different tomatoes. And all we're going to do, and be careful with that because it will splash. So we're going to take these tomatoes, put them in this boiling water. And we're just going to let them boil for a little bit. And what it's going to do is, I'll show you here in a minute, is it's going to soften and it's going to split the peel to make it easier to take the peeling off. Otherwise, you can take and slowly peel every one of these tomatoes, but this is an easy way to do it. It's a quicker way to do it. All right, as you can see, we got them boiling, and what we're looking for is, I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see where that's split right there. That's what we're looking for. Once that tomato splits, you see it a little bit better. See how that tomato has split on the side? Once they do that, listen, here is really split. We're going to take those out and add some more. You can do this in just one pan. You don't have to have 2, but I've got so many tomatoes that I just want to hurry up and get this done. I don't want to sit over here adding 4 or 5 tomatoes to each one. And if you're only making one batch, it'll take about maybe 18 of these good medium-sized tomatoes, about like that, to make a batch. Be about fine. Once we do that, we're going to add some more. And look at that, man. Those are just beautiful tomatoes. I really hate to waste them in salsa, but I mean, look how beautiful those are. Just perfect slicers. And look at the size. Look at the size of that one there. But anyway, I hate wasting these. I'd rather use them, in sandwiches or something like that. All right. Now then, once we get them off there, we're going to put them and drop these into this cold water. And we're going to let them set, and we're going to let them cool. And then I'll show you what we do after that with them. All right, while these are soaking and cooling down and I'm boiling the rest of those, what I want to do now is I want to fill up this. This is my sanitizer. It's got the little metal rack in here to hold it the jars off the bottom. I'm going to fill this up about here, and I'm going to put it on. It takes a little while to get it to boil. I've got, I like to put hot water in at the sink, just because it takes a little less time to actually start boiling when it gets on the stove. But this is where we're going to take our jars from last year that we put in the dishwasher. We're going to take them out of that. We're going to put them in here. We're going to drop them in here and boil them for about 15 minutes to make sure they're good and sterile before we put our salsa in that. So while this is getting ready to boil, I'll show you how we take the peels off and prep the tomatoes in order to make the salsa. All right, here we go. Now we've got these, and these have been set, and these are nice and cool to the touch. So this is where you get all nasty. Now you can take these apart, and what we're going to do is with this thing here, we're going to put it in our little processor here. This thing is 6 cups. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this up twice, and that will be 1 batch that we cook. And then while we're doing that, you'll notice right here, we've got this is very hot. So you'll notice it's boiling very well. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take and we're going to put our jars in here and go ahead and start letting them sterilize for 15 minutes while we do this other. All right, well, we're pulling our jars out of the dishwasher so they're nice and clean. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these little things here and we're going to slowly drop them down in here. All right. And the reason that metal rack's down in the bottom is because if you put these jars directly down on the bottom, there's a chance that that direct heat, it could crack. The heat could get too much and crack the jars, and then it'll make a huge mess. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this boil for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to go over here and start doing our other stuff. What we're going to do here is we're going to take these tomatoes. You see how the skin is coming off of them? We're going to pull the skin, throw it in the trash. We're going to take this little guy here. We don't want that in our salsa. We'll pull it off. Whoa, things are slick. And then you got the skin like so, and all you're going to do is just going to squeeze. There, we don't want any of these dark spots, and then that right there we'll throw away, and then we'll do this for all of our tomatoes that we got. And you'll notice when you're boiling these that some of the varieties of tomatoes take longer for the skin to peel off, and some it just takes barely touching the water for about 30 seconds and the skin pulls off. So some are more tough skinned than others, kind of like people, I guess. Some of us are more tough skinned than others. And we just don't want all this. This right here is no good in salsa. It's just that skin, it's real tough, it's real nasty. So we'll do this until we get 12 cups of this here. And I'll show you what we do, what I like to do. Now you can take and you can dice these up if you want bigger chunks. Takes a little bit longer. I use the processor, and you can process it down to real fine if you like it thin, or you can just pulse it and have a little bit, some of these thicker chunks in there. But if you'll notice, like these gladiators tomatoes that we grew this year, they're almost like a Roma. They've got, you can see right here, they've got a little bit of juice in there, but for the most part, it's pretty meaty. Makes it really good if you're going to make salsa, if you're going to make spaghetti sauce, you're going to make tomato sauce, stuff like that. Works really good. Real meaty. Makes for a thicker type salsa or thicker type conny sauce. Now that we got this done, we've got our full, and you can see we got big chunks of tomatoes in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour it up into this little thing, and we're going to see how many cups we can get. Now that right there is probably more liquid than anything, so we're going to mix, we're just going to chop it up, and then we're going to mix it separate. You can use whatever processor you want, but I like my little Ninja thing. Got a neat little top up here that you can just hit the button, you can pulse, you can really get after it, you can do whatever you want. Another pan here, set it down here, and we're going to measure, that's 6 cups of liquid. So now then we're going to want to, we're going to put some of this bigger chunks in there to make sure we get a lot of beefy and meaty stuff in there with it. That's a lot of chunky tomatoes. All right, we'll see where that goes. That ought to do. And that's right at 6 cups itself. So now then, this 12 cups. So we've got enough right there for one batch. Now that we've got that one done, we'll set that aside. And now then we need to do this rest of this here. I think we've got enough for 2 batches here. We shall see. Pulse this up. Boop. All right. Got that. And all we're going to do is we're just going to pour this in a bowl right now, just to so we can keep our measurements right. And it's not a science. It's not like oh, you have to have exactly this amount. You know, use your judgment. See, this one's going to be a little bit shy, but we can still make about probably 10, maybe 8 jars. So that'll be fine. That should give us about 20 jars of salsa. And then by the time we add our peppers and all that stuff, peppers and onions should be about right. All right. So I'll pour this back into here. So this is what we're going to use to cook with. Now we've got 2 pans. Now we could take and add all this into one pan if you wanted to. Be fine. I like to do it in different batches, and I may just cook it all in one pan. I haven't decided yet. Sometimes I think 2 half pans are easier to deal with than one full brimmed up pan. I think it cooks better when it's broken down into 2 smaller, but that's a personal opinion. So, all right, now then we're going to get our peppers and onions and all that stuff ready. All right, as you can see, we have got a good variety of peppers. We've got jalapenos, Anaheims, we got some serranos, some long thin chili, a couple of bell peppers, a couple of poblanos, and that should make it plenty spicy enough. And then we'll add 1 full onion to it. So let's go ahead and cut these up, get these in here and chop them up, and then we'll split the mixture between the 2 batches. Now what I like to do on here is usually each batch, I like to add about a half a cup of 5% distilled vinegar. And usually I'll add that 5% to here, and then I'll chop the peppers up in it with it and then add it to that's just the way I like to do it. Doesn't have to be done that way. You can add it just straight to the tomatoes, but that little bit of vinegar helps bring out some of the flavors. All right. You can see we've got a whole section full of all of our peppers in there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add about a half a cup maybe of vinegar down on the bottom. And now we're going to see if we can chop this stuff up. Now you can quarter this stuff up, you can dice it up in bigger chunks. Totally up to you. This is all personal preference of how you like your salsa. And that's why I like to add the vinegar in here, because if you don't have any liquid or water or anything, this stuff is really hard to chop. So that cut her down a little bit. So what we can do, if you can look in there, you see all that nice and chopped. Holy cow, that stuff. Ooh, that'd take your breath away. And all these peppers we actually grew out of our garden. So that's why some of these are a little darker than others. They've been on the vine a little bit longer, but that's fine with me. Like some of these serranos, the little serranos have been on there just a little long. They're supposed to be green, but, and I do recommend that you wear gloves while doing this, because I'm probably going to pay for this here in a little bit, because I'm going to forget about all this and I'm going to scratch my face and I'm going to pay for it dearly, I'm sure. Let's add another poblano in there. Get creative when you're doing these. Add whatever you want. Now that once I do this, then I'll do one full large onion to mix in with it. And then we're going to mix all this stuff in and get started cooking on it. Out of this stuff here, we're going to take half of it and we're going to put it in this batch. And we're going to take the other half, put in here. Oh my Lord, that right there will take your breath away. Remember, I said I like to add a half cup of vinegar to each one. Mrs. Wages that I use, it already has all the salt and stuff in it. So I'm not going to use any more salt than what comes in this package. And this package has got the oregano and stuff in it. If you don't like some of the stuff, it's already got some of the cilantro that's already mixed in it. And I didn't grow any cilantro this year, so wanted to make sure that I had some cilantro. So this right here has a little bit of a hint of cilantro in it with it. And it's got a few small pepper deals, but like I said, if you just use Mrs. Wages, you're not going to get the taste. You want to use fresh peppers and onions in your salsa in order to make it fresh. Like I said, I'm just using this for some of the seasoning because I'm too lazy to go and measure all the seasonings out myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a boil on medium to medium high heat. Oh my Lord, look at that. You see that? That little guy did not get cut up. We're going to take it out of there. All right, now we got it mixed up. Now we're going to turn these on to a medium to high heat, and we're going to let them cook, let them boil. Once they start boiling, we're going to let them boil for about 15 to 20 minutes and actually cook. And then we're going to put them over here in our sterile jars that we just pulled out of our boiling water. So they're nice and sterile, ready to go. And yeah, that's all there is to it so far. All right, everybody can see now we are boiling and we're on a medium to high heat on the boil. We're just going to keep stirring these up. Make sure you don't want to burn the bottom. There's nothing worse than having a char. That's why you don't want to put it on a real high heat. Once it starts boiling, we'll take it down to about a medium. That way we don't scorch the bottom of this, because if you scorch the bottom, that makes for some nasty salsa. All right, now that these are boiling and cooking, we're gonna just keep stirring, and we're gonna cook these for about probably 10 to 12 minutes. Make sure all those peppers and that seasoning gets nice and distributed throughout the whole thing. All right, now that these have been boiling and we've had them simmering for about 10 to 15 minutes or so, I'm gonna move that one over there out of the way. I'm gonna turn the heat off of this one over here. And I'm going to move this thing back over here and go ahead and start getting it ready to boil. That way when we get these jars filled up, then we can put them over here and give them a water bath. Now I don't do pressure cooking because pressure cooking, for one, is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. So, but when you do this water bath and you seal them up, these things will last over a year. And there's nothing here that I'm gonna can that I won't be canning again or making next year. So I don't need it to last over a year. I don't need it to last 2 or 3 years. We got those, we got this. We're gonna turn this back on high. And if you'll notice right here, I've got the lids in some water. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat that to a boil itself. And what that does is, not only does it sterilize them, but it also heats that rubber seal around there. That way when you go to seal them, it makes a good seal. So that's the reason why we do that. All right, here comes fun part. Now then, we got these. We're going to bring this little guy over here. And I'm going to use, you can pour this directly into the jars. I like to use this little stainless. I use this for jellies. And a little 2/3 cup little deal. That way I can scoop it and pour it a little easier. You're going to put the little ring over the top. And fill our jars. And you don't want to fill it all the way to the top. Now, what you want to do, if you'll notice right here, we went about 1/4 inch below the top of this jar, because you don't want to fill it all the way because it doesn't give enough room for that lid to seal. So you always want to leave about 1/4 inch of headspace on these whenever you're filling them up. All right, almost done, almost done. The lids that we boiled, we're going to take a little paper towel. We're going to dip it in that really, really hot water. And we're going to wipe the tops of all these jars. That way any residue, any splash, anything like that, we're going to get off of this, because we want to make sure that it gets a good seal. We're going to lift this thing out of that hot water. So get over the top. And all we're doing here, these bands, all they're doing is securing this in top until it seals. So, and you don't want to over tighten these. That's for one thing, for sure. And what I like to do is use my old trusty welding glove that I bought for kitchen use. I like the welding glove. I bought a pair of welding gloves to use in the kitchen because I don't like oven mitts, and the little oven mitts, this here I can at least grasp a hold of stuff, and it makes it a little bit easier. And they're rated really well for welding, so if you can pick up hot metal, then shoot, you should be able to use it anything in here in the kitchen, right? We're just going to take these things here, going to drop them into this water bath. But remember, you want to cover about 1 inch over the top of these jars. So as you're first putting them in and it's not over the top all the way yet, it'll be fine, because once you add 7 jars in there, it'll naturally rise that water up, so it'll be an inch over the top. Like I said, you've seen how much I tighten those. I just, just hand tight. Ow, that was hot. You don't want to get them overly tight. And it's an inch over the top. And now we're going to set a timer, and we're going to boil these for about 15 minutes. All right. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed today. Hope you can make you some salsa. I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Have a great celebration today. Be safe out there. If you like this video, think about sharing it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, and like always, keep it growing.